What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast, your most trusted resource to help you continue to grow and scale your real estate business, where each and every single week, I'm delivering serious information for serious real estate professionals looking to get shit done and create serious results, all 100% free, nothing being sold, no BS, no fluff, no theory, just great, amazing content to help you, again, continue to level up inside your real estate business. Now, real quick, before we jump into today's content, there are 4 extremely important things that I want you to do, that I want you to take action on right now. These will only take you seconds to do, but this will ensure that you are set up for maximum success, have access to all this great content, all these great free resources, as well as to ensure that you are not missing out on all of the realtor to realtor referrals that are constantly and consistently taking place between all of our amazing GSD Mode podcast listeners. All right, so number 1, I want you to watching this on YouTube right now, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and then tap that notification bell. That will ensure that you are alerted every single time a new one of these GSD Mode podcasts is released. All right, so number 2, wherever your go-to podcast audio place is. So wherever you go to listen to your podcast app, I want you to pull up the GSD Mode podcast and make sure to subscribe to it there. The GSD Mode podcast is currently on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. And this will ensure and allow you to be able to listen to all this amazing content while you're driving, while you're working out, while you're on the go, and all of that. All right, number 3, make sure to join the GSD Mode free Facebook mastermind group, where that you can then go in and mastermind with thousands and thousands of realtors, team leaders, broker owners, right? And again, you guys, these are all GSD Mode podcast listeners that are all seriously committed to leveling up inside their real estate business. Plus, I create and have exclusive content and resources available to just that group alone, can only be accessed inside that group, doing Facebook Lives and so forth. So I want to make sure that you don't miss out on that either. And then lastly, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, all the realtor to realtor referrals are taking place inside this GSD Mode Facebook group. So this will ensure that you do not miss out on any of those referrals. And look, if you don't find value on it, if you don't like once you jump in, if you're not seeing the value in it, if you think it's a distraction, right? It's harmless. You can just leave the group anytime that you want, right? So definitely go check that out and make sure that you join that group right away. I will make sure that you are approved. I go in there once a day, every single day, and approve all members and so forth. All right, last thing. And I've saved the best for last. Make sure that you go snag my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. There's 42 tips, strategies throughout this whole entire book. There's 100 pages. Each chapter is a different tip, a different strategy that are fully proven, that I've implemented in my business and that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, and will 100% allow you and help you to be able to go out and dominate your real estate business as long as you implement and take action on what you learn. But you guys, these are gold. There's no stories in here. It's all, again, 100% free. So you can go snag your free copy right now at joshuasmithfreebook.com, joshuasmithfreebook.com. Now, if you just scroll below, if you're not to be able to take it, you're not able to take action on these now, go into the notes. You'll see all of these. You can take action right then and there inside the notes, but make sure that you take action on these. So again, you are set up fully for success. And as I mentioned, you guys, nothing being sold, no BS, no fluff, no theory, just great resources, great content, great information to help you on this success journey that we are all on and leveling up our real estate businesses. All right, let's jump on into today's epic, amazing GSD Mode podcast content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview, and I am here today with another rock star guest, Derek Timmons. And you guys, just to give you a little background about Derek before we jump in here. So in 2019, his first year in the real estate industry as a real estate agent, did 25 sales, and part of that was as a part-time agent, had a full-time job, and transitioned full-time that year. So kind of half-time, half full-time, but still cranked out 25 deals in his first year. Followed up in 2020, so second full year in the business, doing 46 deals with over 250 grand in GCI, and now we're getting ready to enter his third year here in the real estate business, and the dude is just crushing it. So Derek, man, so stoked and excited to have you on the GSD Mode podcast, my friend.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to get a chance to be on here. I've been watching you for years. Before I was even full-time, I was glued to your stuff, so I really appreciate the opportunity to give back and just to meet you and chat about real estate.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I'm excited. I love just being able to learn from and just jam with. I know they're going into your third year, but in the grand scheme of things, still a new realtor. But they're kicking ass, man. And especially in the time frame that we're in, man, it's getting more challenging with technology, and then especially last year with COVID-19 and all this craziness, dude. And it's for our listeners, man, because those first few are so important. And the statistics, 90% of agents drop out in the first 3 years. Those first couple of years are so freaking important. And so I'm excited to jump in and learn from before we jump into all the amazing doing now today, run the clocks, man. Like what did you do before you got into real estate, and like why real estate? How did you make that transition and make that decision to jump in here in the first place?
Yeah, great question. So before I was a real estate agent, I was a contractor for 17 years. So straight out of high school, I was the kind of student that I wasn't going to university. I didn't get super great grades, and school just never really was, my thing. But I knew I was good with my hands, and my dad's side of the family was all contractors. So I followed that path for a long time. And as I got older and my body started to, deteriorate a little bit, like when you're in your early 20s, you can do physical labor all day, but you get into your mid 30s, it slows down. I started becoming frustrated with the fact that every single year that went by, my results either stayed the exact same or they actually got worse, no matter what I did. And so I became really frustrated with that. And I kind of talk about the fool's insanity. Like, I know you're familiar with the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But have you ever heard of a fool's insanity?
Mm-mm.
So it's doing the same thing over and over, knowing exactly what your results are going to be and doing it anyway. So that was my foolish insanity for many years. January 1st every year, I knew I'm going to make $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Wintertime, I'm going to be really, working outside in Canada, get really frustrated with the cold and all these things. So I just, one day I was at work and I said, I got to do something else. But when I was in my early 20s, I said for years and years, one day I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm going to flip houses. So I never had any intentions of actually being a realtor full time, but I got my license just out of frustration for again the lack of results that I was getting. And on the side, I started making more money, in a month than I was full time or like part time as a realtor than I was full time doing construction. And then when I handed in that first file, I had to handwrite all my documents. I handed it into conveyancing, and I got paid like $7,500 for that deal, which was like a month's worth of income doing construction. And I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me! I just got paid the same amount for doing real estate, not lifting anything heavy, as I did for a whole month of building houses. That I got to do something about this. So then I started seeking knowledge. In my first year with a license, I only did 2 deals. But again, I was spending a lot of time watching shows like yours, reading books on sales and how to talk to people, how to win friends, influence people. And then eventually just got to a point where I had to draw a line in the sand and make the commitment. And once I jumped in with both feet, it started to take off.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And look, yeah, I mean, that frustration point that you landed with or went through with your previous career, I mean, that's tough to go through that, but those end up being blessings, yeah. Right? Because things were slightly better to a point where it was just good enough. You can be stuck in, like, good enough is the first enemy to greatness, and we can be stuck in our life and live to regret it later. So it's become blessings, man. And so I'm curious, dude, when we go back to your part-time phase of your journey here, just because there are so many realtors that are watching this, listen to this, or might see this in the future, that are in that place. That's a very common place for people to start. Because they can't just abandon their income. They got commitments and families they got to provide for, but man, it's a balancing act, right? Because not only are you new and you're having to learn real estate, the local real estate, kind of laws, regulations, learn contracts, but then you're having to, learn listing presentations, buyer presentations, getting clients, all at the same time of balancing this other career. And it's a lot, dude. What did you do during that time to allow you, to be successful at it, that then led to you being able to ditch the other career and go chips all in here?
Yeah, and again, another great question. So for me, once I made the hard decision to transition out of construction, I had a level of commitment that was really strong. But the thing is, like, my mom lives with me, so I support my mom and my 12-year-old son. So I couldn't leave a full-time steady income. But I sat down with them both and said, hey, look, this is what I need to do. I need to get out of this career and into this one. And it's going to require 6 months of you guys not seeing me. I'm going to have to stay focused on a schedule and just really do the outward going activities that's going to require, or that's going to require for me to get any sort of income. So I time blocked every day after I would come home from work. So I would leave for job site at 7 o'clock in the morning. I would come home about 3 or 4. I'd shower, have dinner, pat my kid on the head for 10 minutes. And then I'd go lock myself in my office. And from 5 to 7:30 every day, Monday to Friday, I was making calls. Like, sometimes it was just talking to someone I hadn't talked to in 10 years or whatever. And it was never about real estate. It was always just developing that relationship. But I stayed focused and committed to outward going communication. But really the time blocking was what set me apart, because when you wake up in the morning, I got to work for 8 hours on my job. I'm going to have a lunch break at this time. But when I come home, I am scheduled to be working on my real estate business for 1 hour, 2 hours, 45 minutes, whatever it is. But if you're committed to it and you come home and there's nothing that can stop you from putting in that time to your business, eventually, consistent actions lead to results, which lead to, growth and all those things. So that's all I did, was I just time blocked a commitment to myself to do at least 10 hours a week while I was still part-time until it became so much that I had to pick one or the other.
Yeah, love that, dude. So you're time blocking, you're being very regimented, strict, you got buy-in from your family. You mentioned when you were doing those reach outs, it was really just reconnecting, building that strong sphere of influence, developing that connection rapport. We said that those weren't necessarily about real estate. I mean, were you at any time in those conversations or doing, having any type of a strategy to seed that you're doing real estate in addition to the construction career as well?
Yeah, so it came up on every call, but I was never phoning and just right off the bat being, hey, Joshua, man, I haven't talked to you in 3 years. Did you know I'm a real estate agent? I don't know if you saw it on Facebook. Like, that was never my go-to. It was always, about them, finding out what's going on. How are you doing? How's the wife? How's the kids? And then eventually they would always ask, how are you? And then real estate always came up. And then they'd say, sometimes they'd throw you indicators or signals that maybe they're thinking about it. And actually my first buyer that I ever got was a guy on a job site that I hadn't seen in a little while. Same thing, just went up and started talking to him and said, hey, I got my real estate license actually 6 months ago. And he goes, no way. Well, we just got pre-approved for a mortgage. And actually, again, I learned so much from watching you, the thing about people know you, like you, trust you, and know what you do for a living. So I can't sell real estate to people that don't understand or know that I have a license. So again, it kind of came out naturally, but just touching base with people, and eventually, it just snowballed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I mean the law of reciprocation is the most powerful law of influence and human persuasion, right? Like, it's just, it's inevitable, right? Like, if you are interested in somebody and truly interested, and they have that feeling and, so forth, like, going to ask about what's new in your world. And, I always call it selling without selling, right? It's so effective, dude. So, all right, so that's sort of leading to your, first couple deals, or first, to bringing consistent enough business where then it was like, okay, hey, I'm going to make this shift, right? Drop the construction career, time into real estate. So now you're full time. Walk us through what looked like then. as well as, was it just amplifying up this same kind of a strategy with just really tapping into fear, or were there other things that you started to do to start, generating new business coming in and so forth?
Yeah, so my schedule is obviously very regimented. I know a lot of realtors that say that they can't follow a schedule, and I mean, to each their own, but I believe that if I'm not in control of my schedule, my clients will be in control of it, and that's a bad place for me to be, because at any moment I could be getting pulled off my course, and I don't want that. So every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 11:30, it's all outward going. So it's following up with leads from Realtor.ca, open houses, the referrals that you get, or sphere of influence, people that you have on the go. But I call them, like you said, jam sessions. So 2.5 hours, 4 days a week. It's all outward. I don't receive calls. I don't answer emails. It all goes out to people that are potentially buying or selling real estate. But yeah, once I went full time, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I got to feed a family, and it's 100% commission based income. I'm not sitting around waiting for people to come to me. I went out there, and in 2019, I took 3 days off the whole summer, which I get a lot of shit from people about not taking time off and relaxing and recouping. But I'm working on the work-life balance. But in 2019, I tried to do 4 open houses every weekend. So I would do 11 to 1 and then 2 to 4 Saturday and Sunday. And in my town, I can get from one end of the town to the other in 15 minutes. So I just constantly was out there meeting new people, getting to know the lay of the land. You start to really learn the market that way. One lady actually hired me because she was at the first open house that I was at that day, and then came to the next one and saw that I did 2 in one day, and thought, she actually said, if you're willing to do 2 in one day, then you're the guy for me. And so now I do it a little different. I don't do 2 in one day. I do 1 a day, but I market them a lot bigger. Like I have the 30 signs, I do the Facebook ads, I deliver the flyers and all that. But when I was first starting, I had no money. So I couldn't make 30 signs, and I couldn't pay for flyers. I just had to be on site. But the consistency of just always outward going and following up with people really has been the key for me.
Yeah, so dope, dude. I mean, massive action always leads to massive results, and massive right action, if you will. But you took the time to go out there, do your research on producers, and so you were taking massive action on the right things. And look, yeah, I mean the thing that, like, when I started the GSD Mode podcast, the thing I was most nervous about, the thing I thought I'd be most criticized about, because I got a mouth on me, right? And then here I am, with tattoos, and it's one of those things where throughout my whole entire real estate career, as I was selling real estate personally, dude, I rocked a suit, and I played the game. But then when I started this, I was like, dude, I want to do something that I just really want to do and be true to, just be me and be authentic, and so, but, like deep down, I had a kind of a nervous, how's the industry, gonna perceive me, whatever. What was surprising is the biggest thing I got and get criticized about is my work ethic, right? And it's other people's just, they're just justifying, giving their own reasoning of why they're not willing to commit to the work, and it's off, man, right? It's obviously paid off for you. And I don't know anybody that's created massive success in that startup phase that didn't go through that, right? So then, all right, so you're doing the open houses, you're continuing to do your, aggressive with your lead follow-up, staying in touch with your sphere of influence, which led then to 25 sales in 2019, which sounds like that was really your first full-time year. You were kind of part-time the year for that, balancing the two things. And then, dude, going into the next year, man, I mean, you almost doubled your business, 6 deals. Was there any changes that you made between that, 2019 and 2020 that led to that? Or was it just kind of that compounding, consistent momentum where things really just started clicking?
Yeah, that's just it. Things just really started clicking. And I mean, there's people that sometimes you follow up with them for a year and they're ready at the right time. So 2020 was a culmination of a few things. Again, the massive action, the prospecting. All of a sudden, it started to get known on, social media that I was a realtor, that I was doing well. I'd hit top producer a few times. So, I was starting to get more referrals. I also developed a number of strategic alliances, which generated a lot of business for me. So I landed a gig as a listing agent for a local builder. So, I do their listings, which I get a significantly discounted commission on those listings, but I get Realtor.ca leads, I get open house leads, and it's a sign on the lawn, right? So, and also I started actively prospecting mortgage specialists at banks. So I have a connection at almost every pretty much every major institution, but I started sending them my leads, and I was always proactive with that, because if you, like you said, the law of reciprocity, if I send a mortgage specialist a lead and even if it's not a deal that of someone that's going to buy a house, like maybe it's just a mortgage renewal, but if I help their pocketbook and I do something that works for them, most likely when someone walks in that needs a pre-approval and they don't have a realtor, it's coming back my way. So I ended up doing, I think it was 5 deals last year just from the mortgage specialist that I know because of that connection. So yeah, things really just started all coming together, and then referrals. I mean, I'm still so new in the business. I have not done a single repeat transaction, so I don't even know what repeat would be like. I'm sure one day I will, but I don't count on it. Yeah, just, people that you met a year ago are starting to buy now. It's that sales cycle. You can't expect to meet someone on a Monday and then sell them a house on a Friday. But there's that, I think Grant Cardone says, the harder I work, the luckier I get. I had one situation last year where I lost a listing in 2019 and then the agent didn't do a very good job. It was like cell phone photos. They never got any showings, no communication. So then the guy called me up after it expired. We listed it. I did an open house there. I met a lady at the open house. I sold her a house. Then when she had possession, I met the internet installer at her possession, and then he told me he was pre-approved, so I sold him a house. Then we sold the original listing. I sold the guy's house that he lived in. Then he bought a house off a builder. So we ended up doing 6 deals from one transaction or a listing that I lost a year before. But I just followed up with that guy every month. I'd check on his listing, offer him value, and it all just started to work out.
No, I love that, dude. What would you say has been your key to, because obviously, man, there's something that you're doing right when it comes to, the connection, the rapport element. Anybody that I see that converts houses at a high level, the story that you just told, right? Like internet, installer, and I mean, there's something to, like you're a great connector and that allows to that and bring those conversations and gets them, in a short period of time, like an open house as an example, to know they can trust you and so forth. Like what do you feel is, the kind of the key to that or the most important part of, developing that connection and rapport, in that kind of first session period?
Yeah, I always try to build rapport by asking about them, finding out what they're about. It's, again, the FORD acronym, family, occupation, recreations, and dreams. So when people walk into an open house, the first thing I do is, welcome to 123 Anywhere Street. My name's Derek. Please come in. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help you. And then as soon as they're done taking off their shoes and all that, because in Canada, we can get like lots of snow and it gets muddy. So they take a minute. It's sort of awkward. You lead them away. And then the first thing you ask them is, how you guys doing today? What are you up to? Are you just checking out some new houses or going around with the family? And then they answer a question. Then you always just keep trying to ask them another question. Oh, so are you guys from the area? What do you like most about this area? Are you downsizing? Are you upsizing? If they have little kids, you try to include the kids. Find out their names, find out what they like. And you can tell right away if people don't want you around. You can get that vibe like, man, I don't want to talk to you. I'm nervous about you or whatever. And those people, you got to let them in and out and do their thing. But and to be honest with you, I don't really want to work with someone that I can't connect with anyway, but I will, but you can tell when people are vibing with you and feeling good about how you're talking to them. But if you're right away just, let me show you this beautiful kitchen and this has a gas range and the garage is heated. If you're selling them features of the house before they even know if they like you, I find that to be really repelling. But if you're just asking like, hey, it's a Sunday, what are you guys up to today? Do you have any plans? Are you going to watch football? We got the Super Bowl coming up. They'll start to close themselves. You don't even have to sell them anything. It's just it's just part of being a good person and providing that value. And then when it does come time to talk about real estate, you can tell, and that's when you lead them down that path. So when are you guys thinking about buying, or where are you moving from? Or I always like to ask the question, are you guys currently working with a realtor in any regard? And then more often than not, they'll say, well, no, we're not. Because, I mean, they're at an open house without one, right? So it's pretty clear they don't. Sometimes they say they do and maybe they don't, whatever. But when they say no, I always ask, well, are you open to discussing the potential of working together? So it's like very non-invasive. It's just, do you want to have a chat? Basically, like, are you open to chatting? And they always say yes. And then the next thing I do, by that time I have my notebook in my hand, or my pen in my hand, my notebook, I just say, great, well, what's the best number to reach you at? Put my pen on my paper and look down and stop talking. And they tell you. And then, okay, well, Joshua, what's the best email to reach you at? And then you write down their email, and then you follow up the next day, and then just keep the journey going there. But really the connection and just finding out about the other people has been the greatest thing for me.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's awesome, dude. So then, you talked about your relationship with the builders, you talked with the relationship with the lenders, looking kind of over, all the notes that I had to prep for this interview. It sounds like you refer to as strategic alliances, if you will. And 38% of your business, so it's a big portion of your business is coming from these. And what I love about this is these are people feeding you business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, builders and your banks, foreclosure lawyers and so forth. With that being said, dude, like, what is because I think, for anybody watching, listen to this, I mean, just imagine how much more amazing your business and life would be if, you had some type of a relationship with somebody that was sending you 1 or 2 clients consistently every single month. You didn't have to, go out there and invest, all this money and energy into lead gen and, all these other things. Plus the conversion ratio is so high, right? When it comes from somebody that they have a relationship with or they're working with, when they're like, oh, I got a dude, right there. I mean, this guy's amazing. I'll introduce you guys, but you're going to love him. I mean, it's a slam dunk, right? So, what has been the key to develop those, for you, Derek, to start those? How do you approach them so you're not just going to them begging for business? And, it's like when we get blown up by lenders and title companies and, whatever, that's, oh, just give us a shot. We'd like to talk about earning your bit. Like, that could be a turnoff, right? So, what's been the key to developing those relationships?
Yeah, I laugh now because I'm starting to get more and more. At first it wasn't very much, but now I get email pretty much 2 or 3 a week of someone like home inspector or a lender or someone, and they just straight off the hop try to close you. Like, they don't offer you any value. They don't even ask anything about, they have it's almost like, it's a template they copy and paste. And as soon as I read those, I feel it kind of grosses you out, right? Like you said, it's a bit of a turnoff. So I always like to approach my business of how do I feel when someone comes towards me in a certain way, and then if I don't feel good about that, I don't want to do that outwardly to other people. So with the best advice I can give to anybody that's trying to develop a strategic alliance partnership is you have to be consistent. You have to be willing to go into the trenches for quite some time and get knocked down, get rejected. Like, I got one builder that I've decided in my head that I'm going to work with them. And I've been for 2 years following up with them every month. I send them stuff, I call, but it's all about providing value. And they're happy with the situation that they have, but I want to be, I'm relentless on that. But if you find these people and you provide them value and you just get to know what they're after, that really helps. But with the banks, the biggest thing that I did was I went in and I booked myself a meeting with the branch manager, and whenever they would ask, well, what's the meeting about, I would say about developing relationships. And then I'd sit down with the branch manager, which is the decision maker. So ultimately you want to find out who's going to be able to lead you to get to those clients. And when I would sit down with the branch manager, I would just say very, very clearly, like, hey, look, I have a lot of buyers. I have a lot of people that want to purchase homes, and a lot of them don't have lenders, or maybe they have a lender that isn't doing a great job for them, and we can get you that business. But I would like it if you could connect me with someone that's, maybe new to the business or maybe hungry, really good at what they do, that I could meet with, that I could give these leads to, because I want to build a relationship with someone that I trust, that I know that my clients are being taken care of. And every time I've done that, the branch managers have always been like kind of impressed in a way, and it's been like, yeah, absolutely. And then they connect you with someone, and when you get that introduction set up by the branch manager to these lenders or to the mortgage specialists, they take that meeting, and there's a little bit more they're a little bit more, persuasive for it, or, excited about it, because you didn't go to them and like almost beg them. Like you say, the branch manager, their boss, is saying, hey, you should sit down with this guy, Joshua. He's got a lot of business that might come your way, hear him out. And then at that point, you gotta do it first. So you always gotta send the leads first. You can't sit back and wait for them. But you send someone at the bank 4 or 5 leads and they close one of them. The next time they get someone pre-approved, they're sending them back to you. So it really goes a long way. And then same thing with the foreclosure lawyers. So I figured out really quickly, the foreclosure lawyers are so insulated, there's no point in even trying to get to them. They don't return your calls. They don't return your emails. They don't really care. They got a stack of files on their desk this big, and they just need a realtor for all of them. But the paralegals, the ones that are doing all the communication and working on the files, they're the ones that actually are the decision makers. So the lawyer doesn't care at all who gets the deal. They just need someone with a license that gets it. So if you get to know the paralegals, find out who they are, what their kids' names are. One time I sent a card to one of the paralegals because I saw on Facebook that her son broke his arm at school or whatever, and so I sent a $5 Menchie's card and a, hey, I hope your kid gets well, or heals quickly, and then the next thing I know, I got 2 deals from it. So did I get those deals because I sent that card? I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I know that I was top of mind when those files cross your desk. So again, it's about finding the decision maker, being relentless, following up, providing value, and just being a good person.
Yeah. That's so powerful, man. What is, all right, if somebody's watching this or listening to this and they're mind, I think that everybody would be excited about developing these strategic alliances and these partnerships. If there was to start with, like which has been the most fruitful, where you're like, man, this one I really want to level up because this one has been like, this relationship's been amazing.
That's a tough one to answer, in a sense that, so the builder has been the most fruitful because they have a constant, steady stream of listings. And again, I get paid significantly discounted on those listings, but I end up getting lots of buyer leads and things like that. But the builders are really, really hard to land. They take a lot of follow-up and persistence. So I don't try to deter people from landing those. Like, go for it all day long. Like, try it. But once you get it, it's like you're set. It's a great relationship to have. But the easiest ones that can turn around business the quickest is the mortgage specialist at banks, because they're sitting in an office waiting for people to walk in that get pre-approved that don't have any representation. And the greatest thing about that too is once you get that client, now they're part of your database, so you can follow up with them, all year long after they've bought or sold. You can keep in touch with them on their birthdays, talk to them 4 times a year, send them your monthly newsletter, and then now they become a referral source for you if you really knock it out of the park with them. So the mortgage specialist would be the one that I always suggest to people to go after, because every bank has like 6 or 7 of them. So again, you want to find someone that you really vibe with, that doesn't have a realtor that's kicking them deals, or maybe they do, but you just want to send them more deals. But you can get those relationships within a couple weeks. And really, when you think about it, Joshua, you start looking around how many banks are around you. There's banks everywhere. There's banks literally on every corner. Like there's one shopping mall complex in Airdrie where I live where there's 6 banks in that one parking lot. So I mean, you can just parking lot hop from one to the next and until you find something that lands. And I think about it the same way as I think about open house leads or realtor.ca leads or anything. Like, I don't convert 100% of those meetings. I'm usually about a 20 to 30% conversion. So if I meet with 10 people, I usually get 2 people that are, ready to do this thing. So you just got to run the numbers. But once you know your conversion rates, like I know every time I get 10 leads from an open house, I get 2 deals. So if I get 1 lead per open house, every 10 open houses I'll get 2 deals. So do I want to work 10, in a month, or 10 in a year?
Yep. The path isn't the math, dude. I love it, man. So, I know that something that's been part of your business and a big part of your success is also, kind of your online presence and kind of dominating that the eyeballs on online, if you will. Can you walk us through, man? Like what does your online presence look like? And again, what have you found to be most important when it comes to building an online presence. If somebody's watching this right now that doesn't have, either any online presence or just doesn't have any strategy to it, kind of give them, most important tips that will tend to kick ass with it.
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing has been once I really bought into Google and my Google rankings. So social media is great. Yeah, I think we need to have a social media presence. People are always going to creep your social media. They want to know if they can like you, right? If they can trust you. And so your Instagram and your Facebook is going to give them that sense. But really, I have not done very many deals at all because of social media. I think maybe 2 of like people that I didn't know, and that's out of the like 70 that I've done or whatever the numbers are. But again, like you start to build that following of people, they start to like you and trust you. But I think if someone's vetting you out, your social media would be a good way for them to find out if they could vibe with you. But Google, on the other hand, is such a beast, man. Like Google is our world. Like think about how we live our lives. Anything that you want to do with your life, you're gonna Google it most likely. Like it's a term in our society now. Like just Google it. So I started looking at other realtors' websites and started looking at their Google ratings and their reviews and finding out where are the gaps and where are the holes. And in my area, there wasn't a lot of realtors getting high Google rankings or having a lot of reviews. So I spent all of 2020 going pretty hard on that, and I hired a very reputable, very knowledgeable SEO company that does Google Ads and SEO. And it took 6 months for me to go from like 45th in ranking in my community of 70,000 people to the top 10. But then when I got to the top 10, all of a sudden I broke the top 5. Then I broke the top 3, and now I'm usually ranking number 1. So, but I think at this point right now, 53 5-star reviews. But guys in the 2nd and 3rd place only have like 5 or 6. So again, I think about it like when, let's say I want to get sushi on a Friday night. I Google, and I'm not near my house. I Google sushi near me, and the top one has 30 reviews, and the second one only has 2. I click on that one, and I'm usually buying from that place. So if you have good, solid, authentic reviews, a really high quality website that looks good, that engages people, and you're ranking high on Google, when someone Googles Airdrie Realtor, and I pop up at the beginning, and then they get to the point where, okay, they're reading my reviews, and now they're going onto my website. More often than not, they're contacting me. And at that point, they've already decided that they've hired me. Like when I go to those meetings, they usually are like, okay, when can we go? When can we get this done? Like even just now, before I met with you on this call, I was with buyers from Ontario who are moving west because they sold their house, and they Googled local realtors for where they want to live, and they found me. So, people moving from out of town into your area, they're going to look for you, and they're going to use the one that appears as though they know what they're doing the best.
Yeah, love that, dude. So, all right, so you're, utilizing Google, the testimonials, the reviews, and so forth. You hired the SEO specialist, if you will, to optimize SEO for your site, make sure you got all the right keywords, all of that. I'm curious with that kind of SEO work, if you will, is it just to get your overall website ranking, or are you, let's just say, doing intentional things with your blog, or, to continue to enhance that?
Yeah, so I started off really, really small and light with Google. So I think my budget at first was $500 a month until I started getting higher and higher in the rankings. But now it's increased. And yeah, so you want your website to rank high, but you also, again, you need your website to be, it's got to be banging. Like if your website looks, like everybody else's and doesn't stand out or have value, that's a huge problem. But now we've added the blog. Now we're running the Google ads. So it scales up from there. But my first year doing Google, I put out $6,000, and it took 9 months before I got a single call or a single lead or anything. And so I was like, oh my God, is this a mistake, right? Because I still got to keep my expenses in mind because I'm new and I have a family to support. But by month 9, I was getting a deal a month. So I ended up, in 2020, I put out $6,000 and I brought back 32. So that investment tended to be worth it, or was very much worth it. But but yeah, you got to let the guys that do the SEO stuff run their job, because I don't have the knowledge or the patience or the time to do it. But the blog really helps, and again, just focusing on reviews from all your clients. As soon as you send a waiver or sign a waiver, always ask for that review. They're happy to do it, and as you get higher and higher with the reviews, you give yourself more ammo for new people that don't know you to hire you.
So one thing, I don't know if you ran into this, but one thing about Google reviews, and same thing like with Yelp reviews, versus, let's just say something like Zillow or whatever, where they're verified, if you will, that like we're a client of yours, where like Google, maybe somebody gets pissed off because they got one of your open house flyers and they think you're littering the neighborhood, and then they go on there and give you a low review, and right, like it opens it up for. I mean, I've had friends that have all of a sudden got a negative 1-star rating, and somebody like ripped them apart, and it was just somebody that it was a lead, and they were following up with the lead, and the person got pissed that they were following up with them and went and tarnished them. And have you experienced that or found a way to somewhat combat that, so it is on the actual clients that are leaving those reviews?
I've been very fortunate so far that I've only ever gotten reviews from people that I've asked for reviews from, and everyone that's given me a review has given me a 5-star review. So I'm sure at some point in time there could be a hater or someone that comes out of nowhere that leaves a poor review. I hope that doesn't ever happen, but I guess my response would be in that, like, I have a strict policy for myself that I always reply to every review, and I reply with something genuine and authentic, so that the people that are reading the reviews are reading your review and then my response to the review. And usually when I write my response, I like to include something that happened in the time we were working together, like I'm really excited about that beautiful kitchen, or excited for your kids to play by that park, or whatever. So I would assume that if you got a really bad review from someone that you didn't know, your reply could probably alleviate some of that negative response by someone that doesn't know you. But yeah, I've been really lucky at this point to not have to go through that. So I do a lot of door hangers, and I've had quite a lot of people call me that are pissed off that we left a door hanger on their doorknob that it said no soliciting or no flyers or anything like that. And I mean, you gotta just roll with it. But I've always offered to come pick it up, and they've always said, well, it's already in the garbage. And then I just think, okay, well, obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. So but no, I've never got a bad review, thankfully.
What has been the key to getting reviews, right? You got to deliver great service, get a great experience, right? But is there anything else do you coach them through it? Do you train them through it? Obviously you got to ask them for it. Do you give them a sample structure of how to write the review? Like what have been some of the key of such a strong capture rate on reviews?
When I first started doing reviews, I would this is funny actually, I would always ask them for the review after they took possession. And then by that point, the magic's gone. Like, they've lost that love and feeling of buying a house, right? Because, from the time, and I don't know what your guys' market's like, but up here it's a buyer's market. So, we always have conditions on our offers, and then we have to remove those conditions. And so when I was asking for the review after possession, they're busy. They just moved. You're tired. And a lot of times between removing conditions and possession, some crap can hit the fan, right? So maybe they got a sour taste in their mouth because the seller's left it dirty or whatever. So I found that when I was asking after possession, it would take sometimes a few weeks for them to do it. I'd have to follow up, and I felt really kind of greasy about checking back. Hey, Joshua, sorry to bug you, but do you mind writing that review for me? And I mean, I always would, because I saw the value in them. But then I kind of had an aha moment, and someone that I know, I can't remember who it was, gave me the suggestion, stop doing it at possession, start doing it at condition removal. Because when someone removes conditions, they've either just sold or just bought their house. So now they're elated, they're fired up, they feel good, nothing's put a bad taste in their mouth yet. So as soon as they sign a waiver or receive a waiver, whether they're a buyer or a seller, I always, congratulate them. I do it every time. I do it over the phone. I don't ever email or text someone for a Google review. But I do it. Hey, Joshua, I just wanted to call and say congratulations. I just received the waiver for your listing. Your house is now officially sold. They get all excited. You chat with them, and then I always my script kind of goes something like this. They say, hey, I was wondering if you guys would do me a small favor. And they always say, well, yeah, what's that? I say, would you mind leaving me a Google review? As you know, everything in our world these days is all based on the internet, and it would really help me. It would mean a lot. I'll send you a link to make it really easy so you don't have to go out of your way. And I'm really excited to hear what you'd have to say about your experience. And that's all I ask. And then I don't ever ask, can you leave me a 5-star review, or can you say this about the transaction? I just say, I'm really excited to see what you have to say. And then right away, I ask, would it be easier if I text you the link or email you the link? And 9 out of 10 times, they always say, yeah, just text it to me. Because again, everything's on our mobile, right? So I shoot them the link. And then usually before I go to bed that night, I get an email from Google that I have a new review. Usually, it's more often than not within a day or two, and they write better reviews. Like I noticed when you would, like before when I first started and I was asking after possession, I'd get the reviews like, Derek was great to work with, really knew what he was doing. It was something short like that. But when you ask them after they're still all emotional, they write these like longer reviews and they really describe how they felt about it, and you get a better quality review. So that's the system that I've developed.
Yeah, and I'm guessing now that you have so many in there, right? They're probably going through and reading some of those, right? So in a way, a subconscious way, it's kind of training how to write their own great review, right? And then people follow the path, right? They go with the flow, not easy gain. So with everybody, they go see all these other 5-star reviews. Well, shit, I'm going to give it, rather than even thinking of kind of just plants that seed to give a 5-star review, yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. When it comes down to your own scheduling, that talked earlier about the importance of that consistency and doing your lead follow-up and doing your tasks, but when you get to your volume, man, when you start, unless you have a team and so forth, but, when you get to that point where you're popping, 4 some deals or more every single month, man, it gets hard to keep all this stuff together. Let things slip through the cracks and not deliver bad service, or drop the ball on lead gen and lead follow-up, which then leads to that roller coaster. But what are things that you do personally, to allow yourself to stay consistent, with your innings scheduling and so forth?
Yeah, so I had to hire an assistant. I started with a part-time assistant. She's kind of now, I call her my 3/4 time assistant. She's not quite pulling 40, 50 hours a week, but we're getting close. And she handles all my paperwork. She's experienced already in the field, so I no longer, I look over the agreements and I sign them and stuff, but I just, that's the first thing I do every morning is email my admin and say, like, here's what I need for the day. And I get her the list and I delegate it before I can even start my day, because, like even right now I have 3 deals on the go that we need to book home inspection and deliver deposits and all those things. So like, you're right. When you get to a point where it kind of hits that capacity that you can't handle all that stuff anymore, you're either going to stop calling people back, or you're going to be, you're going to just be missing out. So that was huge. Once I took that step, and it's scary to hire someone because you're like, oh, do I have enough money to pay for this? But once I had that leverage, that made everything go so much further for me. It allowed me the opportunity to focus on the lead gen and to focus on just the clients. But one major thing that I really learned was that not everything's a fire. And most things actually aren't fires. So, when I was first new, and I read this a lot in different, Realtor articles or training stuff, is that, okay, you closed a deal, and you got to do a trade record sheet, and you got to fill in all the paperwork, and you got to send it into the office. But do you need to stop what you're doing to send that all in? The answer is no. Like, if I close a deal at 7:00 at night on a Monday, I usually get 2 business days before I have to have it into the office. So why am I going to take my 2 hours of outgoing prospecting and lead follow-up away to submit a trade record sheet? People think to themselves, like, I want to get paid. And then, but if you're doing the deal right now, it's the end of January, but it doesn't close till March 15th, if you don't send them that paperwork till next week when you have time, you're still going to get paid March 15th when you close the deal. So it really took a lot for me to accept that not everything needs to be done right now. I don't need to drop what I'm doing to fill out, like a FinTrack form or deliver a deposit. Another thing too is like, I started involving my clients with some things like delivering the deposits. I got so busy that, if I got to deliver 6 deposits every week and travel all around Calgary, like Calgary is a big city, I could spend half my week just in my truck. So I say to them, hey, look, here's what I need you to do. And I just, again, I kind of coach them. Go to the bank, get your deposit, your bank draft made up, and then deliver it to this office. And when you drop it off, tell them that you need them to email me a copy. So, it's just about finding that consistency of what's important, what needs to be done right now, and time blocking. Like, again, I can't hammer it down enough. Time blocking, like every day, you need to know where you're going to be, what you're going to do. And I do the same thing that you've taught is I work on my business in the morning and in my business in the afternoon. And I call them my IPAs. So IPA is an income producing activity. So in my calendar, that's a green block. So an IPA is always afternoon. I don't do showings in the morning. I don't do listing appointments in the morning. All of my morning activity is IPA prep. So again, prospecting, outward phone calls, setting myself up for the green activities, which are in the afternoons, evenings, and weekends. And so if someone phones me up and says, hey, can you come talk to me tomorrow morning about selling my house? Unless that's an absolute only time they have, I always just come back and say, oh, sorry, I'm already booked at that time, but I can sit with you in the afternoon or at this other time. So when you know where you're supposed to be and what activities you're supposed to be doing throughout the whole week, it makes it a lot easier to put the right people in the right compartments.
Yep. Love that, dude. Love it, man. So if we look at all of this, like what is, because one of the challenges when we're new is there's so much to learn, right? And learn from, again, local real estate laws, regulations, all the things, look out for a client's best interests and negotiate right contracts and inspections. And, we got to know all that stuff, right? And then we got to learn all this stuff when it comes to, lead follow-up, connection, rapport, not converting listing appointments, buyer appointments, and we got to learn technology and systems, and time block, and it's a lot, dude. But for those, like, if you were talking with a friend or somebody reached out to you that was like, hey man, like I'm thinking about getting in real estate, and like what would your advice be? On kind of what to focus on, of all these different things that you got to go out there and learn, like what kind of advice would you give them, if there's kind of like a hierarchy of importance or so forth, right, to ensure that they can, I guess, dial on the right things at the right times?
Yeah, the top priority for me and for everyone, because I've had a lot of people approach me since I'm pretty new and I got going pretty quick. The thing I always tell everybody is build your database, you need a CRM. If you're rolling with Google Sheets right now, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like you need a solid CRM that's gonna work for you, and you need to start filling it with contacts of people that that know, like, and trust you. So build that database, and anyone can go into that database, but you gotta qualify them as what kind of contact is this. I have a point system for my database. It's a 5-point system. So you get 1 point for each of these things. So your name, your phone number, your email, your birthday, and your mailing address. So if I actually did a deal last year with a guy that I met on Facebook, and all I had was his name. So I don't know, I can't remember how we met. He replied to my story or something like that. And so I put him into my CRM. And so the next time I followed up with him, I was like, okay, he's a 1-pointer, so I got to get him to 2 or 3 points, right? So then the next time I followed up, I got his phone number and his email. And then eventually I found out his birthday. So I sent him a video email on his birthday. And then I found out his mailing address, and then he started getting my mailers. And so he became a 5-point contact, and then he bought a house for me. So building that database and having that list of people in a CRM where it's all organized that's the central nervous system of my business. The first thing I do every day when I'm ready to start work is open up my CRM and look at my task list and who do I need to call, who do I need to follow up with, because you can't keep track of 300 leads all at once. Like if someone says to you, I'm going on vacation and I'll be back, in 3 weeks, call me on February 19th, and you call them that day because you put it in your CRM and it reminded you, they're going to be impressed by that, and they're going to go, this guy really means business. So building the database, having that CRM and using those tools is like paramount. It's without it, I would be so lost. It looks as though I have, I have it kind of figured out, but I don't. Like I just have a system that tells me what to do every day and where I'm doing it, and then I follow that, and that's it.
Yep. Love it, dude. Yeah. I'm always preaching, man. The two non-negotiables in our business, it went from a system standpoint is your CRM and your tracking system.
Yeah.
You can't make intelligent decisions in the business without having the data. The tracking be controlled, but then, your customer relationship management, right? So we're in the human resource, human connection business. And if we do it right, it becomes our number one most important asset. And, look at it, this is my to keep everything in place to ensure nothing cracks these relationships and build deeper connections. And unfortunately, most realtors just have no idea of the importance of it, and it's sad to see. I even have agents on my team that join my, there's the ones that it clicks and registers and, but as much as I preach it and provide it for them and train them on it, man, it can be a struggle, just they're in whether they're lazy or get their heads wrapped around it, man. It's unfortunate that some don't learn it.
Yeah, for me, when I came in, I was so new. I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of did what I was told. Like, so if someone that was making the kind of money that I wanted to make told me use a CRM, I just listened to them. I didn't ever question it. It was never something like, well, like, do I think open houses will work? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to spend any time trying to figure that out. I'm just going to do them. I'm going to figure out how to do them well. Like my first 15 open houses or something like that, a lot. I never got a single contact. So then I stopped, and like you say, you're tracking. So, okay, I've done this 15 times and I'm getting nowhere. What am I doing wrong? So then you got to adjust, right? But again, like I just was so willing to do whatever anyone told me to do. And like if I hear from a guy that's, doing well, get a CRM, use it. I'm going to spend the $40 a month and use it, or whatever it costs, 40, 50, 60 bucks a month. I don't even know.
Yep. 100%, man. I have, my real estate business, I use Perfect Storm, which is like a $200 a month CRM. But dude, in some of my other businesses, I have CRMs for different reasons in each business. But I have one in particular that I pay like $2,500 a month, and I'm stroking that check every month because that the return on that thing is so freaking awesome, right? Like
it's amazing.
It's a non-negotiable investment for sure, man. So if we look at everything that you know now today, right, that you've learned in this couple year kind of short journey, but you've also done the production that a lot of agents, it takes a lot of agents a decade to do. So, short amount of time, but a lot of experience. Derek today could go back and have a conversation, with your younger Derek a few years, 2-3 years ago, when you were first made that decision of all right, man, I'm gonna jump into real estate. Start getting my real estate license and so forth. What are two pieces of advice that you would give yourself that you feel would have been most important, impactful, that propelled your success journey that much faster?
Oh, wow. I think if I could go back, I could tell myself, because you're right, it's so overwhelming. There's so much to learn. And I remember my head spinning so much, being like, I don't think I can do this. I would definitely remind myself that it's all going to sort itself out over time, but just have consistent actions every single day. If you take care of if you take care of the activities and the habits, if you focus on those, everything comes together. There's no way you could follow this path of, prospecting 10 hours a week or more and doing, 2 open houses a week, as long as it's in your business plan, that things won't work out. But it's just about consistency and figuring it out over time. You're not going to figure everything out all at the beginning. Like, you're going to make some mistakes, and sometimes things are going to light on fire and you're going to have to put those out, but just learn it as you go and just focus on the consistency. And then the other thing that I would tell, that's would be beneficial for, myself to have known 3 years ago, is make the experience enjoyable for your people. My first 10 deals, I was so excited that I sold a house. It was new. It was like, I sold a house. I was a construction worker for so long, and now I'm selling houses. That was exciting. I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way, but I don't get really excited now when people are like, I want to write an offer. I used to like drive home from that showing, it felt like I was floating home. I was so excited. I was like screaming out the window. I was like, yes, I get to write an offer. Now it's part of my life, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that. But when I really, when I lost that excitement for, writing and negotiating offers, and I started focusing on making the experience really special and enjoyable for the buyers or the sellers or the clients, that's when things really changed for me, because it's not about me, it's about them. My reward is my paycheck for taking care of my people. And when I take care of my people, everything else gets taken care of for me. Like, you don't have to worry about yourself, because the universe and the laws of economics will just handle that. So making the experience really, really enjoyable and stress-free for the clients is the biggest thing. Like, do the things for them. Book the home inspection for them. Make sure that you do the heavy lifting for them. Give them the buyer's guide in advance so they know what's coming up. Prepare them. Have it be smooth and seamless. Like, don't let there be any surprises. Like, oh, hey, did you know you have to pay a lawyer? Like, some people don't know they got to pay a lawyer. To us, it's like so commonplace. But if it's a first-time buyer, you got to let them know all the things and make them come out of that going, wow, that could have been a lot worse, but Derek handled it for me, and that's really the best thing I could tell myself for a few years ago.
Yeah, awesome, powerful stuff, dude. So, I know that this has been a relatively short journey for you. But again, man, I mean, you're awesome, doing a lot of deals and so forth. And I know that you just hired, your 3/4 full-time assistant. But I'm curious, man, like where do you see yourself taking this, man? Like, do you have a long-term vision for it? Do you where do you see this being in 5-10 years from now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do. My next step is to hire a buyer's agent, because I'm at the point where I don't necessarily have the time to work with 10 buyers all at once, but I want to move down the path of turning it into a legit business where I have staff and I have agents underneath me that I'm training, mentoring, and working in that direction, and leveraging people and helping them get to their goals, but also building a business around that. So I mean, I think if you're the one out in front running the race and people eventually start joining you, you'll naturally attract that. But yeah, down the road, I'd love to. Right now I have a goal in mind of in the next 3 years to be doing 200 transactions in a year. Now, I can't do that by myself, so I need a team, right? So my goal this year is 82 actually, and I'm at 7 for the year, so we're coming along. But I just think about that number 200 in a year, and I think, man, I like setting big goals that terrify me, and I don't ever know if I'm going to get them or not, but it's kind of like that horse with the blinders on. Like, you start running the race, you don't know if you're halfway done or where you're at, but all of a sudden you look up at the end of the year, you're like, man, I did it. I don't know how I did it, but yeah, in 3 years, I'd like to be doing 200 deals a year with a team of people.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So Derek, for those that are watching, listening, we're all real estate agents, or at least, team leaders, broker owners, all in the same space here. But for those that are watching, listening, maybe they have a referral, if somebody that's thinking about moving to your market, or if they just want to continue following you and watching on this amazing journey. Where are the best places for people to follow you, to get in touch with you, to send you a referral, and all of that?
Yeah, so probably the best place would be on Instagram. My social media handles is Maverick Group YYC. That's on Facebook and Instagram. And then on both those platforms, you can find my email and email me directly or send me a DM.
All right, perfect, man. And Derek, dude, I appreciate you taking time. You're busy to be here, man. This has been awesome. Been an honor, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. I've really enjoyed it. It's really cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, 100%, brother. And those watching and listening, as always, truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate your support. And always remember, information without implementation is just the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking action on it. That gives you the power to go out there and create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Derek shared so many amazing pieces of advice with us today. Make sure that you take something that you learned today, take massive action on it, so then you can go out there and, again, create the life you know you want and deserve. And, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And we will see you next time. Peace. I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.